Good morning. Hope you had a great weekend and a great start to your week. I have a few stories, a quick rundown of stories to put on your radar for the week ahead. We have a lot of really important headlines that all need a little bit more context. So let's get started. So let's start with the economy. We're going to focus on the job market. We just got our monthly jobs report, and this gives us a snapshot of the labor market in the previous month. So we always like looking at this. And the headline is that the U.S. economy created more than 430,000 jobs last month. That's a lot of jobs. But the context that's needed is that it's not as many as economists expected. So we're still at this push-pull where there's a lot of job creation, but not as much as we need to recover lost ground. Where are the jobs? They're in areas like leisure and hospitality. And when you're looking at this chart, for example, you can see that huge bar that shows that we're seeing a lot of job growth in this area, an area really hit by the pandemic. But here's what the Wall Street Journal said, and this is what's needed context as well. There are more job openings than unemployed people. There are more job openings than unemployed people. This is why we have a labor shortage. And we still have 1.6 million jobs, more or less, that haven't been recovered since before the pandemic. So the question now for us is, are we really waiting for those jobs to come back? Or are we going to look at the job market in a different way? Do we need to look at a different job picture? Is looking backwards the best guide for looking forwards? This is one of the questions I have for the Bureau of Labor Statistics. In order to be counted as part of this data, you have to be actively looking for work, willing to work, and pursuing a job. If you're not all of those things, then you're not counted as part of the labor force. And we know that there's a lot of people that went from full-time work to contracting work during the pandemic. So I have a question for how that shakes out in the data. I'll keep you posted as my reporting continues. Another headline you might be seeing today has to do with Ukraine and Russian forces abandoning or being pushed out of the area around Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine, where there's been a lot of tough fighting in recent weeks. The context is that what we're seeing in the wake of all of this is horrendous. We have reports of all sorts of atrocities. Atrocities, by the way, the Russians denied, saying some of the photos that we're seeing are staged, for example, but we do have eyewitness reports now, and we do have independent photojournalists still working in the area. You may hear the term war crime being used as a description, but it's also a real thing. You can be tried of a war crime in the International Criminal Court at The Hague, which is the seat of government in the Netherlands, but that can be a really long process. There's no statute of limitations, so you can be tried for a war crime decades from now. What's really something that we need to watch today is what is the reaction of the international community to what we're learning? What are the immediate repercussions, if any, and how does that impact the war as it stands? Finally, speaking of courts, back here at home, we do expect some headlines when it comes to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court nominee, Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, is expected to be approved by the Senate, barring any surprises. So that's the headline we expect. The context is that surprises can happen. Let me explain. So we expect this vote to be close along party lines, as we've seen in recent years with previous nominees. That's not new. But the Senate Majority Leader, Senator Chuck Schumer, a Democrat from New York, wants this vote done by Friday, the Easter recess. And in the Senate, you have to be present to vote. So there's no remote voting. You can't just tweet in or Zoom in. You have to actually be there. And in recent weeks, there's been a rash of lawmakers who have been absent due to COVID. So this may not necessarily interrupt the outcome of the vote and the Senate's eventual approval of Judge Jackson, but it could delay it. So we expect this headline to happen this week, but we'll wait and see until it actually does. So a couple stories to watch. Hope this is helpful for you as you start a brand new week. Questions and comments, let me know. And as always, more on smarternews.com. Have a great start to your week.